Dude, there's not very many people that have done roughly 400 wholesale deals before they could ever drink a beer.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people who have done 400 deals in their whole career.
People think real estate's like an old person's game. Young people, they tend to want to get into like the stock market or like Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever. Nobody wants to get into real estate, but then you got guys like you who are out dominating the game.
They're watching all this stuff on social media of all the fancy cars, fancy lifestyle, and they think it can happen overnight. If you're coming into the game with that mindset, once you make 100 grand, you're gonna go blow it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna think you're rich, but you're really not. With wholesaling, I'm just going and finding a deal, and that's it. You're gonna find deal after deal after deal once you figure out a method that works.
If you're running a wholesale operation below a 50% profit margin, you're doing it wrong.
If you're not walking away with 40%, you are running an extremely unhealthy operation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin is Zaback Show. Today we got Jacob Blank for round 2. I appreciate you being on the show, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So 400 deals, give or take.
Yep.
Since you've been in real estate, you just turned 21 years old. Dude, there's not very many people that have done roughly 400 wholesale deals before they could ever drink a beer.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people who have done 400 deals in their whole career,
Right.
in their 10-year-long career.
Exactly, dude. You know, so look, man, I'm excited to have you on. I know I had you on a couple of years ago. You were 19 at the time when I had you on. And it's crazy to even see what you've done and who you've become from, 19 years old to 21. I know you've been through a lot. There's a lot of personal stuff and different things, but just in business, obviously, you've gone up and down, and ultimately now you're on a really good trajectory, and to see what you've done is really, really cool.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about just the evolution of an entrepreneur, like their journey, especially the young ones. Like, I know you were like one of the youngest millionaires in Arizona, right? To make it happen.
Yeah.
And so to watch.
And like Ricky Gutierrez.
Yeah, the two of you. Yeah, so just to watch, that development is just a beautiful thing. And I'm just glad to be on this journey and not be on the traditional path, so.
Yeah, dude, I love it, bro. It's so cool, too, and so inspiring, I think, for everybody young watching that, like, I think people think real estate's like an old person's game. You know what I mean? Like, I still see it to this day. Like, young people, they tend to want to get into, like, the stock market or, like, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever. Nobody wants to get into real estate, but then you got guys like you who are out dominating the game, and it's like, dude, like the game can be played at a really high level, and honestly, the barrier of entry is not that high the way that you and I do it, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like most people that are young, they're watching all this stuff on social media of all the fancy cars, fancy lifestyle, and they think it can happen overnight, and so they want to get into something that happens fast. Day trading, crypto. They want something that's going to give them that success overnight. And the truth of the matter is that's not going to happen. And if you're coming into the game with that mindset, you've already got the broken mindset from the beginning. Because even if you get into an industry like real estate that will actually give you better returns, you have this broken mindset where once you make 100 grand, you're going to go blow it.
Yeah.
And you're going to think you're rich, but you're really not. And for me, I never played the game of I'm trying to get rich quick. I've been doing this for 5 years now. I got into it. Yeah, you need no money, no credit, no knowledge, really. It's all on YouTube. You can learn. You don't have to buy the houses. You're just flipping the contracts, right? It's just arbitrage. And so I got into it, and I made $30,000 at 17, and I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. I can make insane money fast, but I had that proof of concept of how I did it. And instead of steering the other direction and blowing my money and thinking I'm rich already, I took every penny, put it back in, and then, kept grinding for year after year after year till I actually had substantial money to be like, okay, I made it.
Yeah.
Most people say I made it at $80,000 in their account, and then in a year they're broke.
Yeah, for sure. Almost everybody I see actually makes the same mistake, right? That you're talking about. They make a little bit of money and they think they've got money, and they don't got money, right? And I don't think there's ever a point where you truly. I mean, you have to create indestructible wealth eventually. Like, you have to make more money while you're sleeping than while you're awake. I don't know if you know this, but the majority of the views that we get are from people that are not subscribed. So do me a huge favor and subscribe if you like the podcast so far. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's just go ahead and get back to the interview. And then maybe you've made it, right? And even then one could argue that you're not there yet, so... I totally agree, dude. Let's talk a little bit about wholesaling. You talked a minute ago about, just for anybody brand new that might not know, we're talking about the lowest barrier of entry to real estate investing on the face of the planet, right?
Yeah.
that is what I would describe wholesaling to be. You know, it's a lower barrier of entry than fix and flipping, than buying rentals, Airbnbs, like literally. To your point, it's just arbitrage.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you're getting a property under contract. You're not buying the property. You're then flipping the contract for a profit, right, to a cash buyer.
Yeah. And so it's one of the best things to get into at a young age because it's very simple. All you have to do is find a good deal. You have to find a property that's distressed that you can get at a discount and then just mark it up and make the difference, right? The concept is so simple that anybody can understand it. Now, if you're trying to get into day trading, if you're trying to get into e-commerce, all these other things that people chase after that they see online, there is so much more complications with that. You have to figure out, you have to watch the market, watch the news, all that stuff. With wholesaling, I'm just going and finding a deal.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, if you work hard enough, you put your head down and grind, you're going to find deal after deal after deal once you figure out a method that works. And that's what I did. I figured out a method that works, and I just continued with that. And I stayed on that path, so once you find what's going to work for you, stick with it. And don't think you're rich at 80 grand either. Just stay with that model of what's working and see it through.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
I love it. How'd you find your first deal?
Yeah. So I found my first deal by cold calling. So it took me 8 months to get my first deal.
Took me 9.
9 months.
Yeah.
There we go. And I'm thankful that it took me that long to get my first deal because I see people get their deal in 30 days. That ruins them. Guys, there's so many things along this entrepreneurial journey that will ruin you forever in business. And so I'm grateful that it took me 8 months because those people that get their deal in 30 days, they think it's going to come that easy every single time, and it's not. This business is not easy. Becoming rich in general is not easy. So it took me 8 months. I was cold calling myself for about 5 months, and then I saved up a little bit of money and I hired 2 cold callers. That's when I really started to gain some traction. I was going on appointments. I think I went on like 14 appointments before I got my first deal. At like appointment number 9, I had a seller sign. It was a house in Gilbert on a golf course, and I got it under contract. I thought it was a deal. I walked our good friend Zachary Keeps through the property. He pointed out all these foundation issues that I didn't notice, and basically the numbers with those issues, it killed the deal. And this was like 6 months into chasing after my first deal. So I was broken from this because I'd been putting in every ounce of effort that I had. That's like 200 and some days where I woke up every day, decided to do the same thing and not give up. But fortunately, I had a strong enough mindset to keep going. And shortly after that, 2 months later, got my first deal just down the street from here by Horizon High School on Waltan Lane. I locked it up for $400,000, which is a great deal in this area. And I resold it for $430,000. I made $30,000, and I didn't know what I was doing all the way, and it got sold up for another like $55,000 on top.
So it sold for like $485,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I could have made like $90,000, but I made $30,000. But that $30,000 was
grateful.
everything I needed.
Yeah.
That $30,000 was everything I needed, and I took that and just ran with it.
And what do you think the ARV of that property was at the time?
The
You have
ARV,
any idea?
The ARV was $850 max.
$850?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
There was a comp like literally across the street for $850, and that's what I was. So I knew it was simple.
Yeah.
There was the same house across the street. It sold maybe 5 months ago for $850, and I'm like, okay. Didn't have that great of a remodel either, so I'm like, somebody could pick this up for sure.
So you said it was on Waltan Lane.
Yep.
Okay. And do you remember the conversation you had with the homeowner? Like, do you remember talking to them and like negotiating it and the whole thing? What was their situation? Why did they want to sell? I mean, talk to me about it.
So the main thing with them was they wanted to downsize. Their kids, they were empty nesters. Their kids had moved out to college, and the house was too big for them. It was like a 4-bed, 3-bath. They didn't need, and it was on a 30,000 square foot lot, like huge. A lot of maintenance. So they were just tired of keeping up with the property, and they actually already had a new build that was going to be finished in like 3 months. So they needed to sell in order to get in this new build. And so, they wanted 5 something, and it took a while to work them down. Initially, I got them down to like 450 over the phone before I went out to the property. And then once I went out to the property, I was able to work them down to the 400 number. But overall, they were just great, super nice people. And you could tell that they just wanted to give me a shot, right? They saw that, I was just trying to really get into the industry and make something happen, and I was being super honest with them, and they wanted to give me a shot. And guys, in life, there's going to be those moments where there's somebody that you cross paths with, and they're going to want to give you a shot. And just don't miss those shots because You got to take them when the opportunity arises, and I'm grateful for it. And it changed everything.
Yeah, dude, I had a lot of that, when I was young too, right? Where, I think that when you're young, if you're young watching, you'll have every so often when you're young, the older demographic of people that will be willing to give you that shot.
Yeah.
And then you'll look, but you might not even recognize it in the moment, but like in the future, you'll look back and be like, why did they work with me? Like they should have never worked with me, but they did because they probably saw something in you that they see in themselves or that they saw in themselves when they were a kid or whatever it might be, right? And they want to help you out, and to your point, you have to take and run with that opportunity when that opportunity actually comes your way,
100%.
I love it, dude. So 30 grand, you're fired up. You're like, holy cow, I can do it. Like, this is the real deal. Do you remember how long it took from the time you got the deal under contract to the time you sold the deal and got paid?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, so I made the money fast. I wasn't waiting around 60, 90 days for the close. And that 30 grand blew my mind. I think at the time, the most money that I ever had saved up, because I was always had an entrepreneur spirit, so I was doing other things. But I think the most money I ever had in my account was like 5, 6, 7,000, something like that. So to get 30,000 and have this check in my hand, cash it, it was mind blowing, truly.
Yeah, which is insane. So then what did you do after that, right?
Yeah.
Now here you are, you're 17 at the time, right? And because I just want to walk through your journey one more time here. You're 17, you make the 30 grand. What now, right? Is it just like, dang, I'm going to quadruple down on cold calling? Or what did you take action on? Did you hire a cold caller? How did you take off from there?
So this is how I took off. So I started 16 years old, and it was right around when I turned 17 that I closed this deal. So it was great. And I had 2 cold callers at the time, right? So like for half of my 8-month journey of trying to get this deal, I was cold calling myself, which was super good for me to develop those communication skills over the phone. But then I had these 2 callers, and that was where I really started to gain traction. So I was already seeing how, outsourcing the marketing really would propel me forward. So then once I closed this deal, I instantly doubled down. I went to 4 cold callers. I gained more traction. I closed a $15,000 deal. Then I got a $20,000 deal. I went to 8 cold callers, 12 cold callers, 14 cold callers. I just kept adding like in 2s and 4s till I got up to 28 cold callers. And then I had 2 people on my team. I had this tiny 600 square foot office off of Union Hills and 32nd Street. And from there, I was, starting to make some serious money, right? We were getting consistent. I was getting close to doing 6 figures every month.
Hey, really quick, I'm sure you already know, but I've done over 2,500 wholesale deals in my career, and me and my team consistently do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. If you're looking to get better at wholesaling, or maybe you're brand new, you've never wholesaled a deal, I would actually love to coach you. I would love to mentor you, and I would love for you to be a part of our education program. All you have to do is go to www.flippinsimple.com, or you can find a link in the description down below and book a strategy session with my team to see if you would be a good fit for our coaching program. Again, this is our exact strategy and formula of how we are actually able to go out every single day and do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. Nobody's talking about what we're doing, and I really look forward to coaching you and mentoring you. So again, go to www.flippinsimple.com. Now let's just go ahead and get back to the show.
And then my lease was up, and this was time to really scale. So I moved to an office out here in the Scottsdale Air Park, and then I just put more gasoline on the fire. I got up to 35 cold callers at peak, and I had 7 acquisition managers, salespeople in my office, and we were cranking out deals like crazy. We were doing $155,000 a month on average, and then the hedge fund craze came in, and then I was doing close to $200,000 a month, and I was only spending like 50, 60 grand. So I was pocketing crazy money, and I just kept reinvesting almost every dollar back into the business and back into my personal brand too. So that's really how I've, blown this up. It was a combination of just sticking to what I saw worked and doubling down on that. And then continuing to see the vision and focus on it rather than getting distracted, because now I had some money and I could go have fun. I just stayed behind the desk. I stayed focused. And then another thing that really helped me, I think, in my career was building my personal brand and getting around like-minded individuals that could give me knowledge and steer me in the right direction. And also, for example, when the whole hedge fund thing happened, if I didn't build my personal brand, I wouldn't have been able to get tapped into the right connections in order to sell the deals to the right people and all that. And so I think the combination of getting my name out there and staying consistent with what worked and just continuing to reinvest in that is truly what did it for me.
Which is really cool, dude. So I want to talk about multiple different things than what you just said. One is, do you think cold callers still work in 2024?
I think cold callers do still work in 2024, but I think doing online ads is what you need.
Yeah, like pay-per-click?
Pay-per-click,
Okay.
yeah. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Google. Google's my favorite, and then second would be Facebook ads. But I think you need that in this market because we need that more motivation, and this is why. With the interest rates, how they are in this market, the problem is people don't want to sell their property because their payment's going to pretty much double. If they have a 3%, sub 3% mortgage, why would they go get a 7-8% mortgage? So they're sitting in place. And so that makes it super hard to find sellers that want to sell. Then it's a challenge to sell to buyers because their money costs them more.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge on both ends. So what you need in this market is really good motivation. You need somebody that's super motivated to sell because they just need to get out of their property. They need money. They're going to go rent. They're not worried about interest rates. You need that type of person. And to find that, you need super motivation. And super motivation comes from typing in online, I need to sell my house fast. So, but as far as the cold calling, I think it does work in this market still. And I have 17 cold callers right now. So I'm still doing a lot of cold calling. About half and half between digital ads and cold calling. It's tougher though, with all the spam blockers and, getting your phone numbers to not be marked spam and all that has become much more challenging.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have you tried different parts of the world in terms of cold callers, or have you always stuck to one part of the world, like the Philippines or Egypt or whatever?
Yeah, so when I first started out, all my callers were in the Philippines, and then I always kept like 5 in the Philippines. I don't have any in the Philippines right now. All my callers are in Mexico. I have been wanting to try out Egypt, though. People are saying Egypt is really good. But yeah, I've always focused on Mexico, and I've always focused on hiring them in border towns because most of the time they went to high school out here in Phoenix, Arizona. So Nogales, Sonora, Rocky Point.
Yep.
That's where I hire most of my team members.
I love it. And then you're pulling data. So for anybody watching who might not be familiar with the process of doing direct-to-seller marketing, you've got to pull data, right? You've got to skip trace data, give data to cold callers, upload that into a CRM or a dialer, right? And then your cold callers essentially just do outbound cold calls all day long. When they get motivation, they put it into your CRM. One of your acquisition guys calls them. So where do you find that you get the best data and the best skip tracing right now in 2024?
Yeah, for me, I've always went broad. A lot of people, they niche down and they target smaller lists, but the way I think about it is, there's hundreds of people hitting those niches, and if I go broad, most of those niches are going to fall into that broad list anyways. And if I have a ton of callers, I'm going to reach anybody anyways. So I've always stuck to 10 or 15 years plus residents, and then sometimes I'll go ahead and cut that down to only absentee owners. And that's pretty much my bread and butter for what list I like to pull. There's a bunch of different providers out there. I use Cole Realty Resource still a lot, and a lot of they target more towards realtors, which is interesting. Yeah,
I've never used them.
So they give you a great deal on data, and if you're trying to go broad and you're just trying to call as many people as possible, it's a good source because data can get very expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I like going broad. I owned a cold calling company, as I'm sure you're aware of. At one point, I think we had 300 cold callers, and I don't own that company anymore. However, we do still have cold callers. You actually have more than we do right now. But I'm a big fan of cold calling. But I do agree it can be expensive, and you've got to monitor it. I think, right? Like if you have to have the bandwidth to really, you either need to hire a manager to stay on top of your cold callers and make sure they're actually calling, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure that their calls are recorded, you're listening to their conversations, you're nitpicking it to the best of your ability, or you shouldn't do it, and that's the one area that I think there were seasons of my life where I didn't give it enough attention. And so therefore it wasn't worth it for me, Yeah,
100%. It's one of those things you do have to give a lot of attention. And as the operator, it can become very annoying because think about it. If you have 30 people using a software on a computer, that software is going to have issues at times. And maybe it's an issue that restarting your computer can solve. but they're going to come to you instantly. It's not working, help, and you're going to get really tired of that. So you must replace yourself with that marketing channel. You have to put a manager in place. Otherwise, it's going to bog you down. So 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Are you wholesaling nationwide or just in Arizona?
Nationwide.
Okay.
So before, the market started to shift, we were way more focused on Arizona. Like I've done 400 deals. I'd say 250 of them are in Arizona.
Wow,
so,
quite a few.
Yeah, the majority of my business that I've done is out here in the valley, which I enjoy. Like I've started to do a few more deals because I'm looking to buy my personal house out here. And so I've walked a few properties and it's fun. Like doing deals here is fun. But no, in this market, you have to do nationwide, 100%. And we like to focus on the B markets right now because buyers are more active there.
Yeah. Talk to me about the B markets. What do you think they are? Atlanta, Alabama? Are you talking about markets like that, or where are you talking?
I'm talking about like Wichita, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, like High Point, North Carolina, rather than like Greensboro or Charlotte, right? These B markets. Those are 3 of them that we're targeting. Indianapolis, but that one's gotten a little bit tougher, I think. It's just being hit by every, there's a lot of competition there. And then, we're doing a lot of digital ads, so we're just getting leads everywhere. And that can become a challenge to get your team used to dealing with that because every market is so different.
Yeah.
So you definitely got to make sure your team's experienced with comping and analyzing property and figuring out what to offer.
Sure.
Otherwise, they'll get bogged down there with how long it takes to figure out what to offer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Are you trying to target your pay-per-click though and your actual paid ads to markets that you have a strong buyers list in? I mean, how are you managing that? Do you have an agency managing it for you? Because I get asked it all the time, right? Pay-per-click, I feel like, is one of those things that a lot of people can't seem to figure out.
Yeah.
They invest a lot of money, and they end up losing a lot of money. I would say more often than not, actually, right? So how did you kind of figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, I've had multiple different companies run my Google pay-per-click, and I've lost money in the past and then totally stepped away from it for like a year. I just stuck with what was working, cold calling, what was working for me. And even recently, I've had a couple different companies run it and worked out, campaign for like 3 to 6 months, and I got a good return. But ultimately, I determined that I need to figure out how to run this myself.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be able to get the best cost per lead, if I'm going to be able to have my campaign optimized, to the highest ability, right? Because you got to think about it. A PPC company managing your campaign, they're spending your dollars, not their dollars.
Yep.
So they're never going to be checking in on whether, if you're getting bad search terms that they need to put in negative keywords and they need to edit it every day. They're not going to be focused on it like that. And so for me, it was all about, okay, I need to learn how to run this. So I'm running my PPC myself and my Facebook ads myself. And that took me spending probably $15,000 in various mentorships, courses, in order to learn it myself. So you got to invest in it, but I'm going to get that back because most of these management companies, they charge you $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So think about it. In a year, every dollar I invested to learn it myself will come back to me, and I'm going to get better returns on the marketing channel anyways.
Yeah. In your opinion, if somebody is watching and they're a brand new wholesaler and they don't have a team or anything, they're solopreneur, right? Do you recommend that if they acquire a deal that they also try to sell their own deal, or they just take it to somebody who can sell it for them and split it 50-50?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and try to sell it yourself. Spend a few days trying to sell it yourself. Post it on Facebook. Call some buyers, some realtors in the area that have recently sold properties. Try to sell it yourself for a few days. If you're not getting any traction selling it yourself, take it to somebody like me or you and give them a portion of the deal to bring it to their buyers. And at the end of the day, guys, if you get a real deal, it's going to fly off the shelf.
Yeah.
So a problem a lot of people face is they focus on finding buyers before they find a deal.
Yep.
And it doesn't make any sense. That's backwards. So.
100%. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. In today's day and age, a phenomenal deal will always sell, right? And at the end of the day, dude, I actually tell a lot of people, I'm like, look, if you're brand new, you can, and I kind of give the same advice as you. I'm like, look, try to sell it for a day or two, but then just take it to somebody else, let them sell it. Go right back to just acquiring another deal, right? Like, don't take too much time and energy off of acquiring your next deal. Otherwise, as soon as you do sell that deal, you're going to be dry again, right?
Yep.
And the whole idea is you want to get to the point where you have 50 or 100 grand or 150 grand or whatever in the bank, so then you can build a team, right?
Yep.
And you can actually do both of them in-house. But I think in the beginning, and I think it was what you were saying initially, right? People try to go too fast. It's like you kind of have to success will take a little bit of time. You have to kind of ease your way into it, I feel like, right?
Yeah. People try to go too fast. People also forget about their business because they made some money. They step away. People also, they make some money and they have, let's say, $90,000 on the board pending to close, and they'll turn off their marketing till they get paid. But what you got to remember is in this business, it's like a 90-day cash conversion cycle. So if we have 90 grand ready to close and we turn off our marketing for 30 days while we wait for that to close, we're going to be setting ourselves back 60, 90 days. And that's another big thing that people mess up on. Never turn your marketing off, because in this business, you'll screw up like half your year doing that. So you always got to continue marketing, have a consistent flow of opportunities that you and your team are working. And yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And you really can eventually run it like a legit company, right?
Yeah.
We're at a point now where we wholesale on average like 35, 40 houses a month, and I'm trying to get our average up even more. Like I want our average to be like 70 a month eventually, and we're in the volume game now, right? But it's just like, if you happen to be a real estate agent in the state of Arizona and you're looking to make a lot more money in 2024, then listen up. I actually run the largest team in the entire state of Arizona, and we'll do over $500 million in production in 2024 alone. We have over 100 agents, and we have 3 office locations throughout the valley. We have a Chandler office location, which is absolutely beautiful. We have a Scottsdale office location, which is where I'm at right now. And then we have a Peoria office location as well. So no matter where you live in the valley, we have a location for you. We also are one of Zillow's top premier teams in the entire state. So if you're looking to receive Zillow leads, then you definitely want to consider joining our team. And we have 37 other lead generation opportunities as well. And obviously we do transaction coordination for you and everything of the sort, so you can do what you're good at and focus on selling real estate. If you want to learn more about joining our team, go to www.joinkpz.com, and I look forward to talking to you more. It's so cool to see, like, dude, like I was, like you and me are like not that different after all. Like I'm just a little bit older than you, right? Yeah. Like I was just a normal cat, got into wholesaling just like you. I got in like the day I turned 18, I think.
Yep.
And to see where I'm at now is kind of wild, right? There's been a lot of ups and downs along the journey. But it's insane, dude. I think I've done 3,000 or 4,000 wholesale deals in my career, just wholesale, not including retail and flipping. And, we're probably coming up on myself personally doing, 5,000 deals or so, which is insane, right? Like for anybody watching, it's like, dude, I'm 28. Like it's not like
crazy.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine where you're going to be when you're 28,
Yeah.
So what do you do from here? What's the goal now, right? Like, what does Jacob Blank do? Do you want to get to 300K a month, 400K a month wholesale, or is there diminishing return and it's like, hey, now I'm going to just take my money and start buying rentals, or I'm going to go build multifamily or whatever?
Yeah, so I think there can be diminishing return, right? And it just depends, right? Like it really depends what model you want to choose. For me, what I want to do is I want my business to consistently stay at doing above 6 figures a month. I'm not trying to get to 300 grand a month, let's say, but I want to make sure I'm doing between 100 to 200 grand every single month, and I want it to run without me. And I've been getting closer and closer and closer to that point where I'm able to remove myself. Mm-hmm. And then, when that business is pumping off so much cash, I'm able to look into doing other things. And so continuing down, building my personal brand and seeing what other various businesses I can stem off of that is super exciting for me. So I'm kind of in this position where I'm kind of figuring out what's next to add on top of this. What other businesses can I build out? I just love the journey. Every day there's new opportunities if you wake up with that mindset that you're going to find them. And so I'm just grateful for where I'm at and to be able to have all this capital coming in from my wholesaling business to look at any opportunity that crosses my path. And I like how you said, you can turn this into a real business. A lot of people get into it, again, with that broken mindset of treating it just like a hustle.
Yeah.
I never did that. I always treated it like a real business. I always treated it like I wanted to get consistent. I wanted to let's do 5 deals a month consistently. Let's do 10 deals a month consistently. And that's really put me where I'm at.
Yeah.
Because if you treat it like a hustle, then when you stop working, you're never gonna. If you say you got to go away for a few weeks, your whole business is gonna go away. So.
Sure. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Talk to me about delegation. Because you just kind of mentioned a second ago trying to delegate and get out of the thing on the day to day, right? Which is something that I've taken a lot of years to try to figure that out myself, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle.
Yeah.
With delegation. They either struggle for one of two reasons. I think number one is that they're just really bad at delegating. Like they want to be in charge of everything and they want to control everything, right? And they want to micromanage.
Yep.
So even if they do like kind of delegate, then they kind of like micromanage the person that they delegated to, right? And then the second version is that they just don't know how to delegate. I think, I think you see entrepreneurs that are young and they try to delegate, but they don't even really know how. And therefore, I think they end up failing, and then they almost become chained to the very machine that they built to create freedom. It becomes this paradox of like, I think people get in. Well, first of all, it would open up a whole nother bag of worms of people getting into entrepreneurship for the wrong reason, which is like freedom, right?
Yeah.
And then ultimately having less actual freedom than when they got started. But talk to me about delegation and how you've overcome that, and some of the struggles that you've overcame.
100%. Delegation is one of the hardest things to do in business, because people in business is one of the hardest things to find. Finding good team members, finding good people is one of it's got to be top 3 most challenging things. And for me, I'm that person that wants to be on top of everything, micromanage everything. Even if I delegate, I'm like looking over their shoulder. And so it's been really challenging for me to like fully step out of certain seats in my business. And I'm still trying to fully get out, right? And it takes a while, but I think here's where I am right now. You get so burnt out and tired as the CEO, trying to have your hand in every seat and all that you just can't do it anymore. Your mind can't take it. I can't be 100% dialed on everything that's happening with the cold calling campaign and be training the sales team every day and making sure they're comping all these properties right and answering every question. And there's a knock on my door every 5 minutes with something that somebody needs. Like eventually you just can't do it anymore. And I think when you get to that point where you can't do it anymore, that's when you are forced to just hand things off.
Yeah.
And then you just have to hope at the end of the day that they're going to do what they say they're going to do and your business is still going to run. Did you ever get to that point where you were just like, oh man, I'm so tired of having to worry about every little thing, and then you just started handing things off?
Many times. And I think it's actually come in cycles, so like what I've learned is that at every new ceiling, obviously you have another floor, right? And for me, I think dude, I've been burned out like 4 or 5 times as an entrepreneur, right? Like there have been like legit 4 or 5 times that I've like looked in the mirror and I'm like, dude, I gotta freaking do something different, like, cause otherwise I'm gonna like end up in the hospital, like, cause I just overwork myself, right? And I think we all do as entrepreneurs. And then 1,000,000%, you kind of pivot 180 and you're like, all right, I'm going to freaking let go of everything. Like you take it, right? And nobody will ever do it as good as you. And that's something that we have to accept as an entrepreneur, right? Like, hey, if I can get 70% from somebody else out of a task that maybe I would have done at 100%, well, that's honestly really good, right?
Yeah.
Like I can get 2 or 3 of those people and now my 70% is 200%, right? So
I think it is those moments that actually really help you delegate the most.
Yeah.
It's when you are looking yourself in the mirror being like, I'm going to end up I can't do this anymore.
100%.
That's when you really start to delegate, because it seems like we're the same type of people where we want to be in charge of everything, micromanage everything, especially your business is like your baby, right? We've put so much time and effort into building this thing that we don't want somebody to screw it up. But you're gonna burn yourself out like that. So
yeah, you can't do everything forever. The sooner that you can delegate, the better off that you are, right?
Yep.
I really do believe that, and I do believe that when you look at any great company on the planet, you look at any Fortune 500 company, you go look at the stock market, look at any blue chip company, right? They're all the CEO or the founder of that company. They're probably not the best anymore at every individual task within that company, right? I would actually argue that the majority of the people that are on their team, that are in high level positions are actually better at that particular role than the actual founder, right? And that's just the reality of it, right? Like, you know, there's an old saying that's like, hey, if you didn't go to Harvard, just hire somebody who did, right?
Yeah,
And
I 100% agree, because when I've delegated and I hand off a task, I taught them the task. But then when I go back to check in on the task, like maybe like 6 months, 8 months later, or I'm like, oh, I need this, and I'm thinking like I just need to do this quick task myself, I can't even remember how to do the task.
No.
They became the expert, and it's so true. They really do master it more than you once you hand it off and you let it go.
I agree. What has been the most difficult part of scaling a wholesaling company to the point where you have predictability every month, in your opinion?
Yeah, the most difficult part is people, 100%, because you can't do 20 deals a month yourself. You can't talk to enough sellers. You can't sell enough deals yourself. It's just impossible. So you got to find the right people. But I truly think getting predictability in a wholesaling business is really easy, honestly, right? This is all you have to do. If I have 10 cold callers and that's giving me 1 to 2 deals a month, right? Or 1 to 3 deals a month, and I want to do 5 deals a month, and I want to at least do 2 deals a month, and I want to get to 5 deals a month. Okay. Well, if 10 cold callers is giving me 1 to 3 deals, I really just need to double that. Now I know I'm never going to go below like 2-3 deals a month because I've doubled it. And so it's called creating a cushion in business. If you want to get predictable in business, you have to create a cushion with marketing, with opportunities. So if 300 leads per month is giving me 1 to 3 deals, I'm going to double that. I'm going to make sure I've doubled that, so that way I always do that amount of deals. And I think it's very simple to get predictable. You just got to invest a bit more. Some months you might have diminishing returns, right? But other months you're going to perform much better. Would you agree that that's kind of the way to get consistent in this business?
Yeah. I've always said too, as a business owner, one of the solution to almost everything in business is to hire more people and to make more money.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it isn't going to work in your personal life, you know, so I want to be very clear. Like, if your relationship's like all out of whack, hiring more people, making more money ain't going to fix it. Right. But in business in particular, right, I'm telling you, I talk about it all the time, dude. Hire more people, make more money. Right. Sales will most of the time solve almost any problem in the world of entrepreneurship and owning a company, you know.
Yeah. You can't make more money without spending more money in business. And, that's just the rule, right? There's no getting around that. So if you want to get consistent, and you just got to spend more money.
Yeah.
You want to make more money, spend more money.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And then talk to me about actually selling deals. So we've talked a lot about the acquisition side, right? And I've talked a lot about, you know, the fact that in maybe you will agree and maybe you won't, but in a wholesaling company, you really have like 2 main pillars. You have the AC and then you have dispositions, okay? And I've always kind of almost looked at it kind of like 2 separate companies, if you will, right? Like you kind of have like this whole machine over here is kind of running, and this whole machine over here is kind of running, and they kind of work together, right?
Yep.
How have you built the machine over here? Like, what have you done to get that to the point? I know obviously you hang out with Robert Winsley a lot, right? I'm sure Investor Lift is a part of that, but like what else have you done to really build that piece of the machine?
Yeah, Investor Lift is a huge part of it for sure. And I agree. It is like 2 separate companies. And one company pretty much completes their task and then hands the deal off to the other company. And you got to build out a whole thing. So in order to, with the selling the deals, it's really come down to finding what works. So that would be reaching out to agents that have buyers. That would be posting the deal on Facebook. And that would be Investor Lift for us.
Those would be the 3 main things that you would do every time you had a deal.
Those are the 3 things we focus on. Okay. We use everything possible that Investor Lift has to offer. We reach out to realtors, and we post on Facebook. Now, with that, you got to build out a bunch of SOPs and training. So that way, you know, there's these standard procedures that you go through every single time on every single deal, and there's this checklist of here we go. First you do this, then you do this. And that way you can really put somebody in place to go ahead and sell the deals and have confidence that they are going to churn up a bunch of interest on that deal. So even for the longest time before I was able to really get out of that seat more, I would just put VAs in those positions. I built out great training, and they would go through all the marketing. And they would churn up all this interest of all these buyers, right? And they would mark them by from 1 to 10 on how hot the buyer was, how interested they were in the deal. There were certain keywords that if the buyer mentioned this or that, I would tell them to throw those in, so I knew who to speak to. And there would be this list of buyers, and I would just go in and pick a few of the top ones, call them up, and sell the deal just like that. So I had a machine finding all the interest for me, and then I just go in and finish it off.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Do you think, in your opinion, Investor Lift is a must-have as a wholesaler in 2024?
In 2024, I think Investor Lift is a must-have because, like I said, in 2024, you need to be nationwide. You need to be doing online ads nationwide. I mean, you still can focus on your own market and dominate your own market, but I think if you're really going to scale a wholesaling business, you got to go nationwide. And if you're going nationwide, it's going to be impossible to sell deals without Investor Lift.
Yeah, it really will be 100%. Robert, we'll link it down below. We'll make some people go buy Investor Lift. I think Robert's actually going to come in here in a little while. He was here last week hanging out. We sold while Robert was in here last week. I think we sold 12 or 13 deals in a 48-hour window.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. Robert's like, I think that's like the most volume out of anybody. Yeah. I'm like, I think it is too, right? Maybe I should change my bio to #1 wholesaler. I don't want to do that because I think there are other people who make more money than I make. I just don't think they'll do it as predictable as me in the long run. I think we'll see. I don't know.
I don't think they'll do as many transactions as you.
They definitely won't do the volume that we do, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. And also, everybody talks about their gross income, but maybe one day we can all look at the net income too, because, there's guys out there doing $1 million a month, but if they spend $900K a month, then, it's nothing to brag about, right?
No, that just sounds like a terrible life to live.
Right.
That just sounds like a lot of stress. You need good margins. People screw that up, right? There is this, with every marketing channel in this industry too, there is a point of diminishing returns, right? So you got to look out for that stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be stressing yourself out more and making less money.
And I really believe, Jacob, I don't know about you, but I believe any great wholesale operator can run a wholesale. Let me put it like this. If you're running, in my opinion, if you're running a wholesale operation below a 50% profit margin, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I think 100% you should be at 50%.
Yeah.
And from the day one when I got in this business, and I got a mentor, the first thing they told me was, you need to be at least at 60-40. You need to be walking away with 40%. And
that was day one.
Yeah. If you're not walking away with 40%, you are running an extremely unhealthy operation.
Yeah.
Extremely unhealthy.
Because it's one of these industries that there's just you're spending too much money if you're not doing that, right? Like, you're just blowing money because it isn't. And again, I want to be clear, right? If you go watch Shark Tank, okay, dude, I mean, I think if you Google, like, what is the average profit margin of a small business in America, it's like 5 or 10%. Like, it's like not good, right? So to be clear, wholesaling should do like quadruple what an average business in America will do in terms of a net profit margin take home, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, when I watch Shark Tank, I'm like, holy cow, they're talking about making 25 cents per sale.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy.
Dude, I see that all the time. I'm watching Shark Tank and I'm like, the guy's doing, $8 million a year or whatever the case might be, and then it's like, oh, we lost money.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I get it. If you're building something that'll eventually be like really
Sellable
big
and
it'll be
sellable.
sellable, I
Makes
understand,
sense.
right? There are variables that I'm not taking into consideration for the clip or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'd rather do $2 million and run a 50% profit margin than do $8 million and run, a negative margin or like a 5% margin or whatever. And we do more than $2 million. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this business. For the first 2 years, I was netting 55%.
Yeah,
like 55%
awesome.
profit margins. Now I'm more around 50. Last year was in the 40s because it was a more
It was a tough year.
Yeah, it was a tough year for everybody. But still, 40% profit margins
in a bad year.
In a bad year, it's crazy.
Yeah, you want to be careful who you tell that to. They'll,
Yeah.
because it is really good, right? Like, at the end of the day, you go talk to some guy at the bar who had a bad year, his profit margin ain't 40%. I can tell you that,
Yeah.
You talk a lot about mindset, and being 16, 17, 18, and then, it took you 8 months to get a deal and mindset.
Yeah.
And, throughout the whole podcast, I can tell, obviously, you have a very thick skin. You're very optimistic, right? How did you obtain that mindset? What did you do when you were young until now? You're still really young, but like, what books are you reading? What are you doing to kind of make sure that you're on your A game?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you want to chase after a big life, you're going to be, big problems are going to come your way. That's just 100%, right? And life's going to throw you shit regardless of whether you're chasing after a great life or whether you're chasing after a small life. And so you got to choose what you want. And I've chosen to chase after a great life. And I know what's going to come with that. And that's going to come with a lot of shit. And you're going to have to face it. But that ultimately is what builds you up. So I think I've always had this mentality of wanting to be the best and in whatever I'm doing and wanting to be successful. I was always money motivated. I always knew the importance of trying to be successful financially. And you either have it or you don't. I wake up in the morning and I want to see what's possible. What's next? What can I do? How can I grow? And, if you have that right mindset, then go do something with it, An idle mind is going to ruin your life, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. And for me, I'm just ready to put every ounce of energy I have into becoming better in every part of my life, not just financially, but physically, mentally. And, reading, I've read a handful of books. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind was like my thing when I was first getting started wholesaling, and that kind of helped me out. But ultimately, it's just built into me.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing for you, right? You got started at 18 and you haven't stopped putting the gas pedal all the way down since, right?
Yep.
And so I've just tried to stay laser focused, walk the narrow path. Most people aren't willing to do that.
If you're currently wholesaling real estate and you aren't using a CRM, then you're doing it wrong and you're leaving a ton of money on the table. We are one of the largest wholesalers in the nation, and by far the number one tool that we use every single day is a phenomenal CRM, right? And a CRM is obviously a customer relationship management tool that will keep track of all of your leads. It'll follow up with people on your behalf. Even if you have a 9-to-5, right? A good CRM will be working for you while you're working at your job. So when you come home, you have a bunch of people to talk to buy their property, okay? Now, obviously, we have a CRM. It is called SimpleSend, and all you have to do is go to www.simplesend.com to check it out. It is by far my favorite CRM. We built it out over the years, and it will literally do everything you need it to do to become a phenomenal wholesaler. So go to www.simplesend, check it out, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it.
The thing is, if you look at anybody successful, they do the exact opposite of the crowd. I know I just watched your podcast with Investor Lift. You talk about, I don't really go out at all. I don't do this. I don't do that. And that's the fact of the matter. You have to say no to tons and tons of things. You have to say no to going out. You have to say no to what everybody else is doing, because then you end up in the same place as them. And that's what I've done. I've steered the other direction of the crowd, walked the narrow path, and that's
got to be hard though, right? Like, because I'm not going to lie, when I was 21, I went out and I screwed around and blew money, you know what I mean? And I regret it, right? Well, I don't regret it, but I definitely look back at my life and I'm like, how much more money could I have had I not? I mean, dude, I bought my first Lamborghini when I was like 22. I bought my first Audi R8 when I was like 20. I mean, I got bottle service every night, right? There was like a 2-year window where I went off the deep end. And then I completely 180, dude. I remember I woke up one morning, I'm like, you're a friggin' idiot, right? And then I went the other direction. I said no to everything for forever, right? Until today. How have you avoided that? Like, how have you kind of navigated that?
It's not that I haven't spent money, but I waited 2-3 years before I bought anything. I got my first dream car when I was 18.
What'd you get? Was it the i8?
Yeah, the i8. Yeah. So I
you
waited.
Still have that?
No, I sold it, and I made money on it.
Really?
Yeah, because of COVID though.
Wow.
Yeah, I think everybody
I made money on my
cars.
Lamborghini too. I made money on both my Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got that after 2 years, and I made money on it. So it wasn't I got a good deal on it. I took 4 months to even find the deal. I was looking for the car for 4 months to get a good deal, because I didn't need it. I knew I didn't need it. I could drive a Honda, whatever it was. I didn't need it. But if I could get a good deal on it, then okay, I could have the trophy. Then I turned 19 and I got a C8 Corvette. I got a great deal on that. The day I bought it, I could have sold it and made, I got it for $88,000. I could have sold it for $115,000
Wow.
same day. And I took 2 months finding that deal. I didn't need it again, but if I could find a good deal, I could have it as a trophy. This watch, just got this watch. This is 5 years into wholesaling.
Yeah.
So I just don't really, I've done the thing, I bought some nice things, but I'm not spending money. I'm not going out doing bottle service. I'm not, like, I have girls DMing me, come get a table and all this. I'm like, no.
It's a trap. Don't do it.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
So, and you talk about it's tough, right? To not go out and blow the money. And it's sacrifice. You know, if you want to end up successful, you're going to have to sacrifice so much. I sacrificed my teenage years. I could have been out with my friends, right? And memories are important. Having fun is important. Living life is important. Sticking yourself behind a desk trying to make money, you know, isn't the answer to life, right? So, but you got to do it. You got to put those years in to get somewhere. And so it comes with a lot of sacrifice. Walking that narrow path, steering the other direction, being different than the crowd. It's all sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to write that check, that I'm willing to give up X, Y, and Z to get to a better place. Most people aren't, though. Most people make a little bit of money like I've been getting at, and they go blow it, and then they step away from their business. I'm sure your business suffered those 2 years
For sure.
where you were just
For
having
sure,
fun.
dude. And it spent millions, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I lost a lot of money, dude, you know? But again, to your point, I had a lot of fun. And for the rest of my life, I can say I got it out of my system, you know? So it is what it is.
Yeah, growing up, I mean, I was the bad kid. I did a lot of shit when I was younger, which really young. I was being dumb really young because I guess I got started wholesaling at 16. That's kind of when I kind of straightened out. But so I did have a lot of fun. So I kind of got tired of it. But now that I'm 21, lately I've been wanting to go out more and stuff. So we'll see if I fall into the... But I don't think I will.
And if you do a little bit, it's not the end of the world,
Not
right?
the end
You
of the
just
world,
can't do it all the time, you know?
Like anything else in life, balance is extremely important.
100%.
But in business, laser focus is really how you move the needle forward. So going out, drinking, getting tables, all that is going to screw up your focus.
100%. Yeah, no question about it. Are you planning on buying rentals, building a portfolio? What are you going to do to take your earned income and turn it into passive income so that by the time you're 30, 35, 40, you're set for the rest of your life?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to buy my personal residence out here in Arizona. That'll be like my first property that I hold long term. I want to buy something out in California because I have family out there. So I'm thinking about buying property that I have utility with, that I can use. And then as far as building up a rental portfolio, I don't know that it's the way that I want to, it's not how I want to build recurring income every month. But as far as, you know, depreciation for taxes and as far as the equity growth and all that, it makes sense. So once I start doing more deals here in the Valley again, I'm going to definitely hold a lot more of the deals. I wish I did. Everybody says I wish I bought, you know, tons of the deals. Bought and held,
baby,
But, you know, you need cash,
Yeah.
right? So at the end of the day, you can't always just hold on to everything. As far as reoccurring income, I really like subscription-based businesses that are off of my personal brand, off of my YouTube channel and all that. And so finding products that I build out, that I own, that I sell, that people pay for monthly is what I'm really focused on growing.
Yeah.
And,
talk to me a little bit about that. I love the idea of the personal brand. So talk to me, why did you decide, hey, I'm going to build my personal brand? And then now where do you see it going now that you have?
Yeah, big props to Alex Science for telling me, like, when I first got started, he's like, document the journey. You know, people are going to want to see this. You're so young. And he got started at 18 years old, right? And he's like, I wish I filmed more. I wish I was posting videos from the very beginning. And so once he said that, I think I was already like a year into doing this, but then instantly I jumped on YouTube, first video, how I got my first deal. You guys could go watch that. I look so young in it. It's crazy, but it's got like 50,000 views now. And then I just have consistently posted since. I think I've posted 400 videos on my YouTube channel. I'm at like 25,000 subscribers.
Nice.
And I'm just trying to keep growing that. And why did I do it though? I did it for that reason. He said, this is going to impact a lot of people, right? You're so young. People are going to want to see this. So I wanted to show people it's possible. And then second to that, if I didn't build my personal brand, I would not be in this seat. I would not know you. I would not know Robert Wensley. I would not know everybody in town that's helped me get to where I'm at, right? There is nothing in my journey that has helped me more than the relationships. The relationships are worth more than anything. And without the brand, it's hard to build them. You're just, in this day and age, truly, you're just faceless.
Yeah.
You're nobody. You just, nobody sees you if you don't put yourself out there. And now I'm really going to take my YouTube more seriously and those businesses that are off of it more seriously. And my goal, my mission is I really want to help as many people as possible get into real estate and have success in real estate. Because, like, for example, a few weeks ago, one of my students, he closed an $85,000 deal.
Dang.
He's 23 years old. Closes an $85,000
Super cool,
deal.
dude.
It's life-changing. Him closing that $85,000 deal felt better than I've closed a $210,000 deal was my biggest assignment fee. Him closing an $85,000 deal felt way better than me closing an $85,000 deal.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. How would you recommend somebody get into the game of building their brand? Because a lot's changed, right? It's hard to build your brand now. I mean, people talk about that all the time. They're like, yeah, Jacob, but posting on YouTube, I got to get 4,000 hours of watch time and I got to blah, 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 blah. Where would you recommend somebody actually start?
Yeah. For me, kind of when I got started, TikTok was brand new, so it was kind of easy to go viral, and Reels just came out, so it was easy to get a lot of views. So that was good, but and it has changed. It is harder, but I think stick with those things. I think Reels and the short form content, if you can grab people's attention, is going to go super far. So, but you got to be out there, being obnoxious. Like, I was super obnoxious. I just closed a $50,000 deal, a $60,000 deal, $20,000 here. I just got this, I did this, here's my business, I'm only 18 years, all this. I was just putting it in front of people's faces, right? And that's what you got to do, because at the end of the day, people don't want to watch the boring status quo type stuff. So you need to learn how to grab people's attention and do the short form content. Then I think definitely get on YouTube right away. I think you've been on YouTube for a very long time. The followers and the subscribers that you're going to have on YouTube, they're going to be a way stronger fan base than any other social media channel that you're on. So I think get on YouTube right away, and it doesn't matter. It is a slow grind, the YouTube. But the good thing about YouTube is it's based on SEO. It's based on Google's search engine. So if you learn some SEO, some search engine optimization, you learn how to put the proper words in your title and the proper tags and the proper stuff in your description, there is no way your videos aren't going to gain traction. There's no way your videos aren't going to grow. And so that's what I've focused on, is YouTube videos that have the proper SEO done to them, so that way I continue to reach people no matter what and continue to grow.
I agree, dude. I think YouTube is like the beast of all beasts. Like, if you can figure out YouTube, you're good, right? And I don't know that I've even figured it out yet, but I think we are figuring it out right now. I think I've had it figured out for a long time. I think it's one thing to know the information. It's another thing to do it, right? And it can be tough, right? I was talking to my team the other day, my media team. I was like, dude, I wish there was a way. Maybe you can help me with this. Maybe we can band up and make this happen. But I wish there was a way. So you go take a Ricky Gutierrez, okay?
Yeah.
Take a crypto trader, a stock trader, whatever, right? They go live every day. And they trade. They just trade live. It's kind of like streaming, like gaming live, right?
Yep.
And there's all these people on the planet that want to tune in to that live stream and watch you take a trade or watch you play a video game, right? And it's easy content, because all you have to do is just go click a button every morning when you're about to trade, and you create a new YouTube video every day, right?
Yep.
How do you do that with wholesaling, with real estate? Like, I wish there was a way for me to, because with real estate, everything has to be more produced because it's after the fact, right? I have to actually film it and then edit it and then post it. It's much harder just to click a button, go live, here's what I'm doing, right? How do you do that in the game of wholesale?
Yeah, and I've started to do that. And I 100% agree. You can have YouTube figured out, but then to really get it to the next level, it takes a lot of work. Your channel really is growing lately because you're putting a ton of effort in the videos with these business tours and whatnot. And so if you want to take it to the next level, it takes a lot of work, coming up with ideas and that Just that right there is so much. But to be able to just put out a video every day of you just wholesaling, I've started to do that. When the market started to turn, I was like, okay, my whole team's complaining that it's harder now. And I was like, screw it. This is easy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to jump on the phones again myself. I hadn't been on the phones in like 2-3 years. I'm like, you want to keep complaining. Let me show you how it's done. And so then I realized I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I've just pressed record and I call for an hour twice a week and I record it. And I've been putting it up on my YouTube channel and people love watching me just wholesale live.
Really?
I just get there and I show them how it's done. And it all started with showing my team, like, dude, stop complaining. Like, there's deals out there. You just need to be good at what you do.
Yeah.
And have a optimistic mindset. If you think it's harder, if you're like, oh, geez, interest rates, all this, the market, then the market's never going to pay you. But if you're like, the market wants to pay me, I'm great at sales. The next person I speak to, they're going to sell me their house. The proper mindset, then you'll crush it. And so I think you can do it like that. I've noticed, though, the videos of me just like wholesaling, like for an hour straight, they get less views than like the higher quality stuff. The sit down talk videos explaining exactly how to do the business or breaking down a deal I've done. Those definitely reach more people. But being able to consistently pump out content is a great thing,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm gonna figure it out, dude. I wanna figure out a way to go live every day, but do more than just even cold calling.
You know what would be sweet? Like if there was a way that everybody in your office had like a webcam on their computer and you went live every day, but it would alternate between your teams. So because you have all these team members, right? They're not on the phone all the time, right? So it transfers from one person to the next as the other person picks up a phone call. That would be dope. That would be dope.
That would be really cool. I'm going to figure something like that out, dude.
That would be sick.
Because nobody's done anything like that. Like, how do you go? I've been trying to think, like, how do I take the wholesale content to the next level, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's just kind of doing the same thing, blah, blah, blah.
That
like,
would be
how do
sick.
we, I thought even about taking, like, what if there was a way, you'd have to, like, roll a TV out onto my bullpen out here, right? And, like, have, like, monitors and stuff. But what if I could have a camera, like an actual camera, and that camera is somehow connected to like my YouTube, but the camera's mobile. So it would be like one of these cameras mobile, right? Where somebody could actually walk around with the camera, but we were live on YouTube from that camera with like a mic and everything, right? And then I could go up to each of my team members like in person, face to face and be like, all right, what did we close today, right? And then we do like deal breakdowns and stuff, but like in real time, it's like, hey, we just closed a deal 1 minute ago. Talk to me about the deal. What did we get it at? What was the ARV? How did we get the deal? Blah, blah, blah. I like whiteboard it out and then I'm like reading the comments in real time and then I like go to the next guy, right?
That would be next level.
That could be dope.
I think you could do it.
I could figure it out, yeah.
You could.
Another 20 grand worth of equipment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll dial
all
it
the
in.
equipment. Yeah, you were showing me all the equipment.
Right.
It's crazy.
This is a lot, dude. Yeah, for sure. So a couple more things, then we'll wrap. What advice would you give to somebody young who they're getting in their own way? They're getting in their own mind. You were young, I was young. And I still remember being young, having a lisp, all the things working against me, right? I think I had acne at the time, right? Whatever,
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to that guy watching right now or that girl watching right now who's 18 years old and they look 18, right? Like they're just getting in their own head about, I can't talk to a seller. Like I can't get on the, I can't pretend to be a buyer, you know?
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. I was super skinny kid. Like I looked like I was 14 at 16, So
yeah.
I was always worried that I wasn't going to be nobody was going to trust me. Nobody was going to sell to me. Nobody was going to believe me that I could buy their house. And that did hold me back somewhat. But it's all about how you talk to yourself. That's how you're going to really it's all about inputs and outputs. And if you keep inputting these negative beliefs about yourself and your ability, then you're never going to get anywhere. You got to be super optimistic. The world is mine to conquer. At the end of the day, I'm able to achieve anything I put my mind to. This is how you need to talk to yourself. And then I would get in front of the mirror and talk to myself like that, and then I would get in front of the mirror again and talk as if I was talking to a motivated seller. And I did this day after day, over and over again, and I really built that confidence. So it's about building confidence within yourself and then building confidence with your approach with others in your business. That's what helped me. If I didn't consistently work on how I was dealing with myself and then how I was going to deal with others in front of a mirror, right? I had to get and really look at myself and really train, right? I would have got scared away from making it happen. So
Yeah, it's so powerful. I agree. You really got to get out of your own head and get out of your own way.
People are in their way so much, man. And it's a sad thing because they want to do something great. They want to be great, but it's their limiting beliefs that really hold them back. Or it's the people in their life, or it's, it's what their parents taught them. It's what school is teaching them. And you got to just block out all the noise and focus on your dream and your vision.
For sure. All right, number one piece of advice for anybody on the fence thinking about getting into wholesaling, what would you tell them?
Yeah, number one piece of advice for getting into wholesaling real estate. It's all about flow of opportunities, and it's all about talking to as many people as possible and looking at as much property as possible, comping as much property as possible, and making as many offers as possible. The more people you talk to, the more offers you make, the more deals you're going to get. Don't overcomplicate it. I want you reaching out to as many homeowners as possible, analyzing property, and making offers. You do that for 5-6 hours every single day. There's no way you don't have success in this business.
I love it. That's powerful. Where can people find you, Jacob? How do they get a hold of you? They want to do a deal with you or be mentored by you?
Yeah. You can find me just Jacob Blank, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, jacobblank.com. So reach out to me. I'd love to help you out on your journey in real estate.
I appreciate you being here, Jacob. We'll have you on again when you're 22 or 23.
Thank you, man.
For sure, brother. Hey, if you're still watching, I greatly appreciate you for staying to the very end. Make sure you go follow Jacob. We'll leave all of his information down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.